if I can.
Oh, awesome.
And if it all runs well, I'll send it to you or I'll put it up on YouTube or something for you.
Oh, okay.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I did not expect this host permissions thing to happen.
It's all right.
Yeah,
If there's one thing I've learned in this whole Flux thing is how to like panic put technical answers together. So don't worry.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel so like I've interviewed people over Zoom before and not encountered this, so I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so I guess I'll let me know when you're good to go. Sorry, I was about to just jump into it.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm chill.
Okay, so I guess we wanted to kind of get a bit of a rundown on the Flux Digipole distinction and pretty much why you decided to make Digipole in addition to the OG Flux app.
Yeah, so I guess it was, I mean, everyone that hears about Flux is like, duh, where's the app? But the way it works, especially the market, the vote market, it really needs a captive audience and to matter. If it doesn't matter, there's no pain to not voting. So you sort of may as well vote, and then there's no real value to what people store, because people might, you might store for an intelligent reason, and other people might just not use the app. So a lot of it required that sort of the staticness of an electorate and a representative that's actually going to do what you say. It's not a petitioning thing. It's a yes, no. They will either do it or not. Whereas Digipoles are, it's a lot looser. It's just a direct democracy. Yes, no. It's just like a opinion gathering machine or like a preference signaling system that people can use and hopefully can then take to their MPs. If we put in storing your votes and then using them to create new legislation and then starting to put in the algorithms for how that all balances out, it actually like loses its merit without someone to do those actions. So that's like the really basic rundown for it. And then obviously just like its user experience is just going to be so much easier. Here are the bills, yes or no. It's just going to be so much easier to get people kind of around the idea of like, well, I can vote on my phone, and they can't hack it. Yeah, all right, cool. From there, let's move in. Sort of the rough idea. It's not to downplay it, because again, it's still one of the most powerful voting mechanisms as far as I know. But yeah, it really is an advert without any political power behind it. So.
Right. Wait, so Digipole, is there still a representative required for that to be elected? No.
So this will just be for anyone to use right now. And then, you can obviously send those results to your currently elected MP and go, here's how we vote. We'd, like you to vote it the same. But obviously it doesn't actually have any clout behind it. Whereas,
Okay.
So that's why we can aim for a few more of those things that hopefully, we're going to get an 80% yes on. And it can just be that sort of, that simple, wow, they're not representing what the people want, without all the technical side, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And then in terms of kind of the technology behind it, is it pretty similar, as in Flux is pretty much going to build off like the sort of Digipole base? Yeah,
for sure. Like, I mean, the vote ledger, the anonymization of people, well, the pseudonymization and the anonymization side, that's all the same. I mean, it's much the same for whether it's Liquid, really at the back end, that's just sending tokens around on a blockchain. When you look at it, it's all the same stuff.
Right. And it's the Ethereum blockchain?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is too specific, because I'm just like thinking it up now, but I've written just some basic code for a liquid voting system before. I guess in that system there had to, it was good fun. I had to, this is probably way too specific, but anyway, while I'm here, I had to store like in the database of each user, I had to store where votes came from if they were like accepting other people's votes. I kind of had to store where they came from, because then so that when they changed their vote, or when, I think it was when someone, if they withdrew their ability to accept other people's votes, I had to return.
Had to give them back, yep.
Votes back. So does it have something like that where there's potentially, basically it just introduces an extra security issue where I have this bit that says where all the votes came from? I wonder if you've managed to get around that somehow.
Yeah, from what I know, essentially it would it would come under the same pseudonym, which is called Copperfield for us. But as far as I know, okay, it brings it in, and then on a closed blockchain, it batches them, and then swaps them around with a bunch of other batches, and then puts the output. So within that closed blockchain, that is where all that information would be. So I mean, yes, yeah, it does introduce a new sort of attack vector, but securing a closed blockchain is a reasonably standard industry practice, and thus far would use all the same sort of like cryptography and encryption behind standard closed blockchain ledger, therefore should be safe. Yeah.
So how exactly are the votes counted from the hashed votes being sent to the blockchain?
How are they counted?
Yeah, I don't really understand how. So apparently on Digipol or on the Google Doc, it's yes, so we hash the votes and then send them to the blockchain. But then how are you supposed to count the votes that have been already hashed?
There's still, I guess they're still going to either a yes or a no lock. So the yes and the no is what's counted, which itself, isn't hashed. I guess where that came from is hashed. But, it's just lodged essentially to a yes or a no.
I see. Yeah, that makes so much more sense.
Wallet, I guess, yeah.
So where it came from is anonymous, but the actual vote is just fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
And then sort of before we get down into issues we've thought of, I guess I wanted to just get your general overview. What do you think are the biggest security concerns for Flux and Digipol?
I think right now it's user verification, which is as much a money or infrastructure, we'll call it, problem as it is actually a technical problem. And that is that, we can verify users, but people can fake that. People can steal other people's data. People can blah, blah, blah. That is a big security flaw. It gets to the point, its end case is what, biometrics, DNA that goes to this private key that's completely anonymous. This can be done, but the actual reality of building it is probably our biggest thing. So yeah, it is the true actual verification that our user is who they say they are. That's the biggest worry for us, I think, on a pure security aspect. As far as, without being too confident, as far as being hacked and having our data broken or changed, we're really, blockchain is starting to really prove itself. We back that. We don't think there's too much of a security flaw there. Okay. But yeah, it's just that user verification things. That's a government's problem. That's as much as it's a tech programs.
So you would be more concerned about the actual database being manipulated rather than your process that you came up with for verification.
Yeah, that's where we, and that's where Flux can't fail. We can't have our vote results changed. We can't have anyone able to go, this vote was Ben Ballingal, and we can't have fake people, more votes put on than should be. they're our real security parameters of our code, and we're safe there. How people use the code, how people use our system, that's like $1 million stuff, and that's a real kind of worry for us. We have to actually really expand and probably have a team, and but right now for Digipol, it's like, right now someone could say you can't prove that was actually the person that said they voted, and without calling them up, we can't. So probably the realest security flaw.
Yeah.
Right.
Another question I was going to ask, we've sort of already touched on, but I guess you've kind of, verification issues aside, one of the kind of early principles we learn in this security class is that simplicity is more secure, pretty much. So are you concerned that even if Digipol can be done in a reasonably secure way, the complexities of Flux are just going to introduce some unknown error, unknown vulnerabilities? Like, you're saying you're really confident that no one's going to be able to hack into it and stuff, but I guess, are you concerned about the potential that you've just made a mistake somewhere in, the bigger volume of code?
No, and we never will be. Yes. That's one of the perks of open. That's why we chose open source. That's why we did a lot of the choices we made. I guess there's always that fear, and there is also the liquidity pool of people's vote that they wish to transfer is another vector. I would prefer it wasn't there. Liquid democracy, every vector is another attack point. It's still, in the way it works, it's a lot of it's just based on the stuff that keeps a crypto wallet secure and the stuff that keeps a crypto transaction secure. We're not really adding anything super new in that regard. So we're everyday Bitcoin's not hacked and everyday Ethereum's not hacked. It backs us. But you kind of always, every time there's a bit more data being sent, which is, the storing of how much political power you've kept for the last 2 years, it does introduce a new angle. But, right now it's, if I were to say it, the biggest fear would be man in the middle, proper individual attacks. It's still, the rest of it runs, like I say, it's a you've got a fancy wallet, you're sending tokens, you're sending crypto tokens back and forth. They have different values. It's that stuff's pretty rudimentary as much as it's sweet cutting edge blockchain.
And you wanted, in the actual design of the app, is the voting results displayed in real time for both of them?
Yeah. With the, whatever it is, 14-second delay or whatever it is for a Ethereum lodge.
Ooh,
but
pretty good.
Refresh is quick enough,
With the Ethereum blockchain, we did a bit of a quick wiki Google, and apparently in 2016, the Ethereum blockchain, someone managed to steal what was it, 50 million worth of Ether or something, and then they had to split the Ethereum blockchain, and now there's 2 versions of the blockchain.
Yep.
You know about that?
kind of, yeah.
Does that mean you had to pick which blockchain to use?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. It's a fork. You generally just go with the biggest one, unless there's a specific reason you like the minor one. It might have a improvement. In the case of Ethereum Classic, it was I think the update to fix the flaw, they also added in a bunch of other stuff, and people didn't like the other stuff and were like, we'll stick with the old one and fix it our own way. And frankly, I don't think I've ever looked at Ethereum Classic since, but God bless them. So that's my rough memory of that, but I'm not 100% sure. We stuck with the straight up one because you just want the biggest one with the most nodes when you're doing for security sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So my understanding of that, of the split, was that the Ethereum versus Ethereum Classic was Ethereum basically bailed those people out and gave them their money back, even though the ordinary Ethereum protocol wouldn't have, because the false chain or whatever, or, you know, the chain that had the money stolen was longer, and that was the legit one. You know, it was a problem in the code of the whatever the organization was that was going to collect people's money to invest. And then the people who run Ethereum said, oh, well, we're going to give these people their money back. So I wonder if that's, I don't know, this is probably, it's an issue like for everyone using the Ethereum blockchain. Are you concerned about that? But I mean, the potential power to kind of reverse these things, and like the way that it potentially delegitimizes Ethereum.
Yeah, or re-centralizes it, I guess, a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, shit. If someone forked the Ethereum blockchain and got 51% of people to start using that just to swap our vote results, I mean, yes, but we just relaunch on their new chain. Like, it would. Yeah, I mean, yes, that is a security flaw. I mean, the actual reality and logistics of it render it close to a zero chance. But yeah, that is doable. There are plans, so we actually eventually could run our own chain. You know, if this was a national thing, you could nationally incentivize people running a node on your home PC, and we'll knock you 5 cents a week or whatever for the electricity, and it just becomes more secure the more people that use it. We are banking on, you know, as much as it has been a little bit centralized, the decentralized nature of Ethereum means that, you know, yeah, you'd really have to get 51% of Ethereum users to hate whatever vote result. And even then, it doesn't invalidate the vote result. You just deleted it. And we'd just be like, cool, we'll host the vote again. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is, yeah, your research is right. But I think the like reality of it is, if that happens, we've done something right, you know? Yeah, basically.
In terms of the potential to have like your own chain, which I guess would still be based on Ethereum. And again, like, stop me if my understanding of blockchain is just wrong, but wouldn't that make Australia like super vulnerable to a 51% attack, in terms of if you just had Australian nodes in Australia, like that's not really that many people, then it would be super vulnerable to some kind of outside infiltration, particularly a state actor.
Yeah, I mean, you'd
like to overpower it for, you know, a 51% attack. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, you can obviously like geo-lock the use of a application or something. So, you know, it would genuinely be geo-locked into Australia. People could move, people could generate 10 billion iPhones, log them all into the network. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of these attacks. The main point is, the bigger everything grows, like exponentially, the level you'd need to go to break it, just you know, skyrockets. It's really like, you know, with one electorate, if we had someone elected, like, this is the kind of thing I like, is that like, if we had someone elected in the WA state election next year, the people that could actually stop our vote results are literally like Russia, China, and America as a national, or, you know, like openly attacking it. And at that point, we've won. Like, so the point of it is, the more people that use it, massively, the security goes up. And that just reimburses and kind of like hopefully feeds back into itself. It's what everyone's chasing on blockchain itself. And, you know, when we're talking about trillions of dollars up against, billions of dollars at least, you know, and no one's done it. It kind of means that the people that probably either can do it or are looking into it are full-on state actor. It's going to take hardware. It's going to take importing devices and stuff. Like, it's actually pretty exciting. You're right in that it's doable, but it's borderline war. Yeah,
Pretty unlikely.
yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's really interesting, and I really like it. But, from my old, like I say, my old like revolutionary self, is like if we get someone elected and it's hacked, it just proves that it's viable, and they want to stop people voting, and it's just like it's game over at that point. We win. I'm chilling. I'm gonna start making a statue. Bye.
Not super practical, but I guess so.
Yeah.
Also on Ethereum, again, maybe this is just my understanding of Ethereum, like not being good enough, but who's gonna pay the miners that are mining the blocks for this shit?
Yeah. Right now we've got a bunch of wrapped ETH, and the actual, I guess the actual data lodging isn't crazy. It's it's a transaction fee essentially every time we want to, because the token itself doesn't have any value.
Yeah.
So it's just a transaction fee, which is quite tiny right now, and absorbable.
So by Flux or by the user?
By Flux.
Yeah.
And then it would. I don't know where the crossover is into sort of our own chain and the numbers, but that's when it becomes essentially free. So there's definitely like a bell curve of, I would say we're probably going to need donations to keep it going, and slash oral, and we get an elected official, you get fucking blah blah money from the government, and it would cool. We're set for 2 years. We're good. So it's a bit of a. There's a bit of a feedback loop in there of we would probably need donations and funding to keep it up to the point where we could launch a private chain, which makes it free, but requires a certain amount of people to remain secure. There's sort of a meeting point of that.
Why is it better to have a private chain?
I guess we can lodge everything on it. We don't have to. Right now, if the Ethereum chain gets slowed down because of, like we've kind of seen, and millions of people using them, millions of people using it at a time, that would slow down how quickly our votes would lodge. You might be looking at 3 to 4 minutes until your vote lodges. Some votes might drop. It introduces a few flaws, or like a few problems. So you'd want to move over, but you need sort of a threshold of users and nodes. I think right now, like no one's gonna, you vote, sorry, you get a little blick up, sorry, your vote dropped, please re-register your vote. That's not a big thing. People are gonna shrug their shoulders, but once it gets big enough and people are relying on this or whatever, we don't want those problems.
And in terms of that, when the user gets a notification saying, like basically, will they have to re-vote, or would the app do it automatically? I'm just thinking for usability.
Yeah, I hate it's not even in the app now. Good idea. It'll do it automatically. That super is the thing. I was just kind of spitballing what would actually need to be done. The transaction would need to be resent. Probably the app would do it and maybe ask for a confirm. Something like that.
I imagine that's probably already built into some wallets potentially. I don't know. Do you know if that's the case? I don't.
I mean, it definitely is built into other wallets. MetaMask does it. So I'd presume. I actually didn't do that side and what actually comes out on the actual front end of the app. But in the back end, a little red flag is raised that the transaction failed. So we could build whatever off the back of that. Play a little or whatever. Yeah. Go.
Should I go again? Okay.
Come on. Yeah.
So how did you guys react when there was a bunch of like foreign accounts made on the Flux app?
Did we post something about that? Because I don't remember ever posting something about that. I was like, how do you know about that?
That was indeed on the website.
Okay. Max must have put something up because I was like, wait a minute. I mean, it was exciting. It didn't do anything. For a moment, it busted out. It bumped our numbers up. like our membership numbers in our unverified bracket. So for a while we had a bunch of extra unverified members, so we just kind of cleared them from the time that it started. So I mean, we might have lost some real members who signed up during that period. I'm pretty sure we didn't, but we might have. Yeah, it was funny. It wasn't a big thing. It didn't really do anything. But yeah, it was definitely like kicked off a lot of conversation of just like why. I know Max looked into it and he's pretty sure it's just literally a bot that searches for input fields. Like it wasn't even politically motivated. It had nothing to do with the fact that we're a political party. So we were
Wow.
I was like, yes, they're finally coming for us. It's the Illuminati. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was just a bot. But yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty exciting, but didn't really do much. So because I was like, we should hype this, and then everyone said we shouldn't. So I'm glad someone actually put a post up about it. Just baselessly claim it was Russian hackers.
Jess, do you want to ask about the patent pending algorithm?
Yeah. So going back to user verification again, on the Google Doc, there was something about, we're waiting on a patent pending algorithm for the user verification. Are we allowed any details of that?
Yeah, it's definitely not patent pending.
That's so funny.
Yes, but wait, when does your project release? When is your project due?
Oh, it's due when is it due, guys? Like
2 weeks or something?
Wait, what?
Oh,
Wasn't it the start of October?
good, Jesus,
Is it?
why'd you start so early? Okay, cool. We'll be fine. Yeah, basically, I mean, it's not patent pending. Just the way our backend works, it scrapes the Electoral Commission's website.
Yeah.
So it's not like illegal or anything. But if they wanted to be trolls or they wanted us to not use it, they could quite easily change their shit. So hence why we're not really like, oh, it's super mysterious, it's patent pending. It's not, it's a website scraper. But yeah, so essentially what it does is, you'll put in your electoral details, it sends them to our database. Our database then sends it to the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission sends us a captcha, or like the Electoral Commission's website normally needs a captcha. We snapshot the captcha, send it back to the database, send it back from the database to the app. You put in the captcha code database, yeah, so it just bounces between the Flux database and the app, which allows us to store your official details and your electoral details and blah, blah, blah. But the app only just gets I think what's called an OAuth, which just says like, yeah, these details are legit, send them a captcha. And then once you've sent back the captcha, it bounces off the Electoral Commission, goes, yeah, the captcha's legit, send them the ability to generate a private key, if that makes sense.
Damn, that's very cool.
Yeah, it's like kind of simple, but it's just great because it's cheeky. And it's one of those ones, if we can launch the app and get 200 users, we'd have a pretty good case to be like, come on, don't change it. But if we say, yeah, we're going to steal their website, they might just put a full stop in somewhere that ruins our whole thing. Yeah. So hence why, and that would just be us being like, ugh, and re-putting the dot in, and having to redo it. Cat and mouse now starts. So yeah, that's why that one's patent pending. The other option is once you're legit, it's about $2 or $2.50 to use the government's ID verification. So that's the official model. If we had funding and stuff. But right now we're sort of relying on this cheeky scraper.
So just to check, are you okay with us talking about that? I feel like
yeah, no, that should be all right. I mean,
like
that's
no one's
if you looked at GitHub, you'd be able to find that. So it's just not really advertised.
Yeah.
But it's there in the GitHub in the open source code. So yeah, we just don't. I mean, that's why I was like, yeah, hell yeah, it's your project, you're fine.
Yeah, should be right. Yeah. And yeah, I wanted to also ask about, so going back to flux and the liquid voting aspect, I wanted to kind of know how much more weight a vote can carry when you store flux, and how quickly it will degrade over time.
That worked. Sorry. TBD, to be honest.
Really? Oh,
Yeah. Everything is going to be started really low.
Yeah.
It's probably the scariest bit for everyone. So, direct democracy you can understand. Liquid democracy, we're going to lock it to just elected MPs for the first little section. Then you'll be able to delegate yourself as a Flux user. So we're going to kind of roll out a lot of this stuff. And then when it comes to like the vote trading, vote storing, mostly that'll be used to like create new legislation and vote on that legislation, like within the app. And it won't be used to have a bigger say on actual parliamentary votes. And then we'll bring that in, at 0.00001%, and then we can repatch and give it more weight or less weight as people use it, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of that's just going to start really low, as much as possible, and then we bring it in.
And with the creating new legislation thing, I don't really understand how that would work. Could you really explain it?
I mean, okay, so the blah 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 votes. There are 100 and something votes in Parliament a year. You think they all suck. You want to create a new piece of legislation because you specifically know about one issue. You would abstain from voting. You store up your flux. It gets to X number, and you can now propose a legislation to the forum within the Flux app. Super basic. This is Reddit. It's got an upvote and a downvote next to a bill. And then when you click into it, there's comments to do with what you've proposed. That's sort of the rough gist of it. And then the plan would be, people can upvote and downvote whether it's a good idea. And then within the document or within the comments, it goes from, weed should be legal to, we start getting a bit more specialist input to go, these are the bills that it actually will affect. Here are the laws. Here's how you'd put it in as legislation. And then I'd say it probably moves to a bills to be voted on section, a bit more legit than the forum. And then, if it gets, I think we're going with about 60 to 65% approval, so something higher than 50, it will be lodged as a private member's bill for the MP. And so when you get an MP elected, you generally get like 3 or 4 staff, like parliamentary aides. Generally, these are like lawyers. At that point, the lawyer would take the thing, make sure it's fucking cross the T's, dot the I's, make sure it's legit. And then we would put a private member bill up. That's like super smooth version of it.
Oh, okay. Yes, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I wasn't sure. I got a bit rambly.
So why should people only be able to suggest ideas if they've stored up flux?
It kind of. You just need a incentivization, I guess. You don't kind of want the person that wants to vote on every single bill and suggest bills does not have good ideas. They definitely might. But I believe if they're that impressive, they have different mechanisms to get their idea out there. They probably have some friends. So yeah, you want to kind of disincentivize people doing everything, and there has to be a weighting to it. We're also at the moment, I guess it's the thought process that if you're not happy with Parliament and you don't want to take part in any of their votes, it's for a reason. You're not just apathetic. So we want to incentivize those people to come out and go like, presumably you're disenfranchised because of some reason. Here's where you can finally have your say, because all the people that are voting in Parliament obviously feel like their voice is heard. So it's sort of to make a bit of a carrot and a stick, if that's an all right term, and bring out those people that reward the people that don't want to take part and aren't being heard in traditional parliament, than give another place for people who are already being represented to have more say.
Super interesting. Because I guess like that's coming at a bit of a cost to the Australian model of everyone gets a vote and has to vote when electing representatives, and I guess I would imagine that you would directly translate that to direct democracy.
Does it come out? If you think about Flux as the new parliament and there's the old parliament, eventually one of them goes away and everyone's using this new one. You're kind of right, but it comes with that. There's still that balance of the old parliament, and the old parliament's not trash. It does a job. We want to make our new area that's sort of a bit more focused on getting those voices that aren't heard as well.
I had another kind of a bit technical question. I'm just wondering if you have any mechanisms for preventing voter coercion, like someone's threatening you, saying, "Oh, you have to vote for this person," which is obviously verifiable because of the blockchain.
Yeah. Nothing in Digipol, though it can be. I mean, again, we're presuming that Digipol doesn't have enough. It doesn't matter. If someone's putting you under duress, you could just vote wrong. And also you can go back and change it once they've left the room. But we do, for Flux, and where it's obviously a bit more legit, we have the plan for what's called a duress mode, which would be you could sort of log in with a fake password, which would just give a mimicked version. I don't know if this diving straight in, say an abusive husband or whatever wants to see that his wife is voting how he wants it to. You basically would have this duress profile where you could vote and see, and then you can actually make your real votes behind that. That's like a very basic and like a visceral way to do it. For like actual people standing over you and staring at your phone. And then everything from back there is obviously the ability to just remove your vote afterwards. When someone's not watching you 24/7, you just go back and change your vote. It's fine.
I guess because of you'd have to assume in this situation that the abusive party can like read the blockchain. But I guess because there's this blockchain, if the abusive party knows the ID of your phone, are they not going to be able to tell when you change it in future?
Yeah, it generates a full vote. It would generate a vote with a hash that travels to the blockchain. Just when the vote counts, the vote count doesn't count it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you guys think that's like, that should be doable. You just have some extra.
For sure. It's. The duress vote would just kind of have the same signifier as, like, if you voted yes, then you voted no. The yes vote is still on the chain. It just is, takes your most updated vote. So it'd be much the same. I'm confident no one without advanced, maybe someone with advanced blockchain code, smart contracting, auditing skills. I don't feel too confident knowing that it's open source. Perhaps someone could do that. That's a good point. I will double check with one of the devs. But as far as I know, it'd be much the same as an old vote. It just doesn't get counted in the end. I don't know if someone would be able to check why it wasn't counted, see that it was a duress vote, etc. That might prove that you have a duress profile. I might double check that one for you.
My idea was, I don't know if this is possible, but you could have like a rotating ID that, so if it changes periodically, you can still check in the short term that your vote was counted, but then if you change your vote again in a week, it's got a different ID, so no one can track you. That's my idea. Don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, no.
Putting it out
Sounds like a real thing. GitHub.com/voteflux/voting app. Yeah, you could just start that now if you want.
No idea. How to
Yeah, no, I'd have to find out how it signifies, like how the vote counting knows not to count a duress vote. I'll follow that up with you. I'll follow that up with Max and get it back to you because I don't actually know the answer to that.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, and I'd also like to know how the vote counter knows when you've like changed your vote as well.
Yeah, I mean that one I know is a little bit easier because it would just go active profile, active hash, because it would count, it would check the hash and then it will check back whether you, in the same way it sent it forward, when it counts it would go here is an active address that did send that, whereas the old one will have been burnt if we're talking in like kind of normal crypto world. Like it'll just be a dead transaction. That's why I started thinking that, and then I'm like, I don't actually know how it would work for the duress ones. So that one's almost kind of like the plan you were saying. It would just count what is your active profile and what is it actively attaching to, the last vote you made. But yeah, you've like literally got me thinking. I don't know how the duress profiles will work. So good questions.
How long do you think how long does it take you guys to like implement new features? I mean, and then obviously it takes longer to have people check it on the open source, but like, let's say you get elected in, whenever the next state election east side is, like, how long is it going to take you to implement some of these features? Or are you not concerned because it doesn't matter till it's bigger?
Yeah, I mean, it's the blockchain code is done. No, it's done. And that's 5-6 years of primarily Max's work. The rest is UI. Like, not again, but yeah, elected 50 grand, 2 weeks, no probs. The blockchain ledger stuff was some real work by one guy. But the rest is, and the features are, that's you're starting to get to just sort of hopefully normal app stuff. We could put a feature in, A/B test it, only half of people get to use it, blah, blah, blah. That's all pretty chill, not too worrisome. It's been very like, the vote ledger's there, we'll get elected, we'll get a loan, it's fine. As always, just being way too like hand wavy and confident, but that's normal app making.
Another day.
Yeah, as someone who does no coding, obviously.
So how like, I'm kind of curious just from like a production point of view, like, so Max has been working on this for like so many years. How much time does he actually spend on it, like per week, per whatever, per month?
Nowadays, none. Lazy. No, so yeah, no. Again, so we've got a few dev teams. I mean, really, we've got eight people that kind of work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Once a fortnight ish.
Oh.
/ you wake up and someone did a whole bunch of stuff at 4 a.m. That's kind of how it works. But yeah, so right now, like, Max himself doesn't really have to touch too much. He did all the back end and the blockchainy stuff. Right now we're in UI design and testing. So once a week we do a meeting. We see the new thing. We all go and then someone will be like, can that be smaller? Can that be bigger? Right now we're very like, unfortunately we've hit this like plateau, because it is that stuff which you can do forever, or you can just be like, fuck it, it's purple. So yeah, we're just sitting right now like spinning wheels. But say maybe March to May this year, we're probably putting in 40 person hours a week, like a full, couple of the team of 3 or 4 were working a full-time job getting it up.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was one of those ones I really didn't like. I like open source projects. I don't do any coding myself. I like the culture. So yeah, I just didn't realize how like methodical it was and how like professional it was. You know, they build a test, they send the test, they then come together for just 20 minutes, everybody blah, 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 and then they break apart again for another 4 hours. It was like really cool to see. And then just like the ability to just take that, copy paste it somewhere and be like, does this work? And not have to like sign NDAs, not have to blah, blah, blah. It was really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, like shout out a million times to our developers. I still don't know how they do it. And yeah, it's one of those cool ones where now we're at the point where it's, you know, security's sold, voting done, like all the like legit bits are done, and we have this community that anyone can join in, like build a button and be like, yeah, I made that. When you click yes, I voted. Like I made that thing. Yeah, it's still like really funny to get across.
Do you occasionally get contributions where you're like, what the fuck? No.
We've been pretty good. I think like we were lucky we got the Discord set up and all that. The biggest problem is people coming in and just giving this big list of what we should do. And we're like, cool man, fork the repo. Like, cool story, fork the repo. That's the biggest one, is like setting up really good systems of like, here is how you contribute. If you haven't done this and this and this, don't talk to me. Yeah, we've just been very like, here it is, come on in. And yeah, really that's the problem. It's more just like the people that just come in and tell you like you should do this and you're actually wrong, and then they just leave. You're like, oh, bro. But yeah, that's why it's cool to just have this, the 8 core. We've probably had up to like 15, 16 people, but there's the 8 people that are like on a page.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love how open it is. It is really cool to see just from an outsider's point of view, and it also makes us trust you more, which is good.
Yeah, I mean that's half of it. It's like the people that have actually audited the code openly, I think maybe like 20 have been like, yeah, this does, 100% what it does. I've make blockchain codes or whatever. I make smart contracts. This is legit. Other than that, it is just that thing of like, it works because someone would pop up and tell us it doesn't. Like, that's almost better than people telling you it does work, is the fact that no one has told us it doesn't. And that just grows the more people that see it. So,
So I guess if I'm trying to like be super skeptical here and imagine what like Vanessa would say. She obviously, I feel like, I mean, obviously she hasn't looked at the code, but I just feel like she wouldn't believe you that it's safe. Or she would say that like the potential issues of like, I don't know, maybe verification issues, or just the insecurity of the user's device at the endpoint, and the potential for malware and all these things. I guess she would say that it's not worth potentially compromising like the integrity of the Australian, electoral system. Although I think that's why it's good, I guess, that you guys are introducing it slowly. But I think she would say these potential risks and like the potential 51% attack, and you're like, oh, it's like, sweet, that's awesome. That means we're big. But I guess she would say then it's not worth it. It's not going to be an improvement on the current system given these potential flaws. It's just not worth like risking it and sullying democracy's name.
Yeah. There's two things in it as well. Obviously, is that like there's e-voting, like e-voting for Scott Morrison, and then there's digital democracy, being that like everyone should vote on everything all the time. They're two different things. Yeah, that's what I'm a bit thinking. It's like if someone was trying to it'd be crazy to be like there are no security flaws and this will never be broken, this will never be hacked or anything like that. At least what we're saying is all the vectors we know that could happen would delegitimize that vote. They wouldn't delegitimize voting. And they wouldn't delegitimize voting online, and they wouldn't be able to cause a false political answer. You know, like they wouldn't be able to force a yes vote so that some bad legislation passes without at least us knowing that that vote was fucked with.
I mean, not
again,
if there's malware on a user device, though, right?
The level.
Which is obviously,
Yeah.
it's obviously like that's going to take a huge amount of effort, and then you only change one person's vote. But
Yeah.
like, I guess it's just like, how do you weigh up? Like, why do you think it's like worth these risks that some people are not going to have their votes counted? You know, that's probably just what's going to happen. Some people aren't going to get to have their say.
I think, well, again, it's are these flaws, do they delegitimize, or are they worse, or blah blah blah? You know, are they comparable to going on a Saturday, whatever it is, every 4 years and doing the piece of paper thing where I don't think I show my ID or anything? Like there are crazy attack vectors for normal voting.
That's kind of true.
So yeah, it's you have to weigh up: are we introducing new ones potentially? Are they going to have more negative result politically than the flaws that are already there? You know, because it's like I could sit here and be like, yeah, but someone could swap all the ballot boxes. Like they can,
Yeah.
but whether it delegitimizes the idea of voting, it doesn't. Whether someone hacking our blockchain and changing a vote delegitimizes voting online as a inevitability, no. Yeah, so you know, there might be flaws with the mechanism. We believe this mechanism is as secure as traditional voting. Then there's the second question of whether digital democracy, voting on issues all the time, and people being able to attack this as a vector and delegitimize digital democracy. I think there's a lot more. You're probably more correct there. You know, less people are likely to vote every time. Therefore, it's probably easier to give a false result or get a crowd to come in and ruin a vote or whatever. When you're talking about 27 million people voting once in 4 years and all the security and the like malware protection you could put on their devices and the time you'd have, again, it's for an election. Don't want to fight your lecturer, but I feel pretty safe that, you know, I don't think it's a real flaw. It has as many, or you know, it has all voting mechanisms have flaws. Digital democracy probably will have some. It doesn't delegitimize the idea that we should vote online. Introducing too many attack vectors and expecting people to vote all the time, every day. I think there's probably a little bit more weakness there. There's a little bit more ability to game the system if you had a lot of money or a lot of hardware. But once again, you know, it's still, how do you do it except but to do it? And probably have to accept that at some point we're going to have a vote that someone, but you know, they just broke blockchain. It's like, wow, you just broke blockchain. A lot of people have got a lot of time to spend now fixing it, and when they do, let's do voting on it again. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's we back blockchain. Blockchain is the greatest tech right now. That's why we use blockchain. We don't use blockchain because blockchain matters to voting. Yeah, I think that's how I'd put it. Without trying to be like, there's no security flaws, because yeah, things get hacked. They always do. They probably always will. we've minimized the vectors as much as possible. We're at the point where they could ruin a vote, possibly, if they had billions of dollars, at which point we would host the vote again, and we would continue finding ways to vote online. And you know, because not being like, without being too blah blah blah, but we're also making enfranchising voters that perhaps haven't voted ever. Like Elon Musk launches Starlink, or we get a big enough satellite, and every human in Australia could vote, like without having to stand up. That's cool. Yeah, whether tech can be hacked is probably can someday. Is probably the best you can do with tech stuff, right?
Yeah, well said.
Bit of a rant, because it's a bit of a weird one, and it's like I can
there's no
obviously
straight
stand here and be
answer.
like, right now, no one can hack us. Tomorrow, ask us again. Welcome to tech. Yeah, it's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah. Is there any more questions, Lillian?
I'm good. Tian or Jason?
No, most of the questions were already asked.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ben.
Yeah,
this
is
was great.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was so helpful, actually.
Cool. I hope so. I'll let me check my OBS is still recording. OBS is still recording. Blah blah blah. I'll try to get you a video of all this, because already all I can remember is duress mode. Was there anything else I had to double check?
That was the main one.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I don't know, Jason. Was there any others you remember?
Yeah, if you could.
I was taking notes and I forgot already. it's all on paper, but I have to read it again.
Awesome,
Yeah.
dude. All right. Yeah, no, it was just that. I was like, all I can remember is I'll chase Max up for how the duress mode works and how that doesn't reveal that you have a duress mode, I guess was the point of the question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one last question. Will like this mode also be included in Flux when you guys get around to that?
It'll
Is everything
definitely be in Flux. Currently unsure if it'll be in Digipol. Probably not.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just because, again, if someone's threatening you, if someone's threatening you to vote a certain way on Digipol, just fucking vote.
Yeah.
Let's go back and change it.
Yeah, just
you
go back and
guys-
change it later.
Are you guys like working on any others? Like, if you have another idea, will you just make another one, or are you like good with the Digipol Flux? Like, that'll do.
Well, we've got a plan for a liquid democracy version as well. Yeah, it's actually pretty funny because like Digipol is Flux's goal forever. Like right now we've built the federal one, building the WA one, then we're going to do all the states of Australia. Currently there's a person in Holland who wants a Dutch version made. So we can just bounce Digipol into every single country and and then, slide in on its wake. But there's also there's quite a few voting mechanisms that don't exist anywhere in the world that we're kind of realizing. Like we could do a quadratic voting, we could do a conviction voting. Fuck it. Yeah, so we're kind of looking at that with Digipol. But for now, as for using it as a Flux, here's direct democracy, have a play. Flux is a little bit more intense than that. Yeah, that's basically the game plan for the next ever.
I love it.
Just making international versions and then hopefully getting them to fly us out. Something revolution. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's really good to hear. As Jess said earlier, like it's so good that it's all open source and that you guys are so easy to get in touch with. And then it's also so good to hear that, I mean, like obviously it's what you guys have been doing for ages, but I love that it all seems super well thought out. It's nice.
I love that it seems that way as well. Yeah, no, quick pitch whilst I'm the culture and awareness lead and I have some youths. But Yeah, it is. It is that. It's like we had a great democratic model and a great app. Running a political party, making a movement, making freaking ads. We don't know how to do. We're learning it all. We're like, we're literally. It's a bunch of 20 to 30-year-old white dudes, literally. And for a while, we all had beards. It got weird. Like, we need more people. Anyone can join. Yeah. So like, if you're interested, if you like want to get into the app stuff, we have our Discord stuff every Monday. Come in, ask questions. Please send us young, impressionable revolutionaries. That's my plan.
We also have a class presentation tomorrow, so we can talk we get to talk about Flux there.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's cool, and I'm glad like this was like, the dream that like we can explain it to you guys. Are like 22, no idea, 21, something like that. Yeah, I'm like that we can explain it one day to 21-year-olds who'll go, huh, that's cool. Like that's all we need, and that is we literally just inserted a political paradigm that hasn't existed in like 300 years. Like we're actually getting to that level, like that proper like, oh shit. Yeah, so if we release an app and we have a party with people that kind of get it, yeah, it's actually going to be some interesting times. So thanks for like letting me try and spitball this out. I actually did way better than I thought I was going to, so I'm glad I was useful.
Yeah, definitely.
But hit me with like, what is the acronym for this and this and this, if you have those questions, because that's the stuff I actually was worried you were going to ask me, and you haven't yet. So if any of that stuff
more
pops
when we
up,
start writing it, I think writing the report. So
yeah, for sure. It's like actually, I what's that? What is that algorithm? Because I don't really know all that stuff. I just know how they work.
Yeah.
All right.
Right on, my dudes.
All right.
so
Thanks for your
much.
time.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah, no probs. Hit me up, email, questions, blah, blah, blah. Join the Discord, join the revolution. I'm out.
All right.
See you, dudes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.